Hello and welcome to the ProView Sports Report. We're here. It's January 30th. Aaron Rivera with Steve Davis, president of ProView Networks. And Steve, lots of great basketball. We're into that district time. This has been a fun week of sports so far.
Well, I'll tell you what, fun, but also great games. I mean, double overtime. We'll get into that, but I got to do a double overtime game and some upsets that I didn't think were going to happen. So let's get into it. I'm ready, man.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the upsets. Let's take a look at that double overtime game that you're talking about. The Sandia Matadors and La Cueva Bears faced off this last week. This is a district matchup. And early on, Steve, I mean, the Sandia Matadors, when you got a guy like Thomas Adams, you're going to put up a lot of points.
Well, I'll tell you, real simply, Sandia, that first half, couldn't have played a better first half. I mean, that's the thing. And it just looked like this was going to be a blowout. Great steal by Brown there.
You see Isaiah Brown, that's back-to-back threes for Isaiah there. And look at that score, 10-point difference, 24-14. Here's Drew Bramlett. He's one of the young players on that team, I believe a sophomore for La Cueva, getting a big transition. And, you know, La Cueva hanging around in this one, but this is, you see a lot of this in these district games. Favored team, Sandia is the team that everybody's looking at in that district. They're up right now, 10 points, 18 points here as we start the second half. But this is where the La Cueva Bears start turning it on. Well, first we got to look at that Mason Howell block into the Diabage turn, but here's Tony Trujillo coming in La Cueva. This is where they start to turn it on.
Well, Trujillo had a game, you know, if they can get point production like him and his leadership the rest of the year, this guy hit clutch shots. He even made an old-fashioned 4-point play here that'll come up here in a little bit.
As we just saw Gad Harris there drop one down for the Sandia Matadors. I mean, the Sandia Matadors, Steve, are one of the only teams to be able to play pretty close to the Volcano Vista Hawks in the state of New Mexico so far, but you see the score is whittled down to just 3 now as the La Cueva Bears fighting their way back in. Here's Tony Trujillo once more.
Look at, he just, like I said, clutch shot after clutch shot, and that's probably one. And they tie the game up at 62, the first overtime. And you know, my whole thing on overtimes is basically the first team to score a basket first has a higher percentage of winning. Not a free throw, but a basket. And so I thought the game was over right there because Trujillo hits the first three.
Yeah, and they were fighting that whole way. But, you know, as we get closer and closer to that 2-minute mark, 66-65, and this is one where I think a lot of people didn't think La Cueva would be even able to push them to it. But here's Sandia now playing catch-up, and Gad Harris slides that one over. Who can get it there? La Cueva. So we hit the end of that first OT, and then the second overtime. This is where La Cueva kind of put their foot down.
Well, watch this shot right here. This is you talked about Brantlett. That's a big time three, and he hadn't been shooting that well up to that point. And
there's Cowles too. I mean, he's a guy that for them they've been looking to get Trey Cowles more and more involved. Trujillo with a big block.
He did it on the offense and defense. I mean, this is the best. You know, like I said, this is what Coach Oriel was looking for, is leadership on the court, and a terrible first half by La Cueva.
And here is the crowning jewel of it. That is Hunter Butler, and, you know, he makes that first block. Now Gad Harris is coming around the side. Butler pokes it out. Butler takes it downtown. There's no time left for the Sandia Matadors after he sinks that one. It's a 6-point lead at that point here, and there's just nothing you can do with that amount of time left. So the La Cueva Bears end up, and now they could be threatening for that district here after winning that one 80-74 over the Sandia Matadors. That one on the Game Vision, and I mean, we're seeing a lot of shakeups in these districts. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that when we get to the scoreboard later on, but now La Cueva can legitimately contest for that district.
Well, they're in first place right now, so they control their destiny right now, and they have a big game tonight. I mean, it's Santa Fe coming in, and I'm going to be there, and Comcast 26 is going to be there. So it's one of those games that they control their destiny, a home court game. So everything going the Bears' way right now.
Yeah, like you mentioned, top in that district right now. Let's take a look at some more of the games that we got. What do we have next, Ty? The Farmington Scorpions, the Volcano Vista Hawks. And, of course, so Farmington, Steve, they are on the come-up right now, but when you have to come up against the Volcano Vista Hawks, Kenyon Owino is going to punish you a lot.
Well, I tell you, this is where Volcano, they came out that first quarter just hitting threes, and, basically Gonzalez just scoring from everywhere. And then, it just looked like it took the cells out of Farmington.
Yeah, and this District 1 is really interesting because, I mean, you've mentioned it a couple of times here on the show, but it's kind of right now everybody's chasing Volcano Vista, and when it comes to this district, that's kind of the same situation that everybody's stuck in. And you see right there, Farmington's starting to come back, but it's already a 12-point game here in the second quarter.
Well, they cut it back. They cut it back to 4, 5, before in the first. And I haven't seen Volcano play so bad the second quarter. They had a terrible second quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we saw Evan Asilian there. He made the mistake. He did make the block to save it here into the Landon Begay. He's going to set up that three.
Unbelievable second quarter. I mean, he was hitting it from the threes, he's hitting from the mid-range. He's just being a great leader on the court. And then here's Lund starting the second half, and
yeah, they cut it to 6 there, but here's back-to-back plays for Lund. Now Lund can just drop down the two-hand hammer.
And they're not finished.
Nope.
So you got 4 top 10 plays right there in a row. So
yeah, and the thing about it too was that as Asilian, dunks on dunks, they start to get in these situations and they start playing free like that. I mean, it's just fun to watch when Volcano gets loose like that.
Well, here's what's in that second quarter. They missed 3 dunks. They really played a terrible second quarter. Even at halftime, I said that, I'd like to see the stats on Volcano on their third quarter. Their third quarters have been immaculate all year round. All year round.
How about that to start the fourth quarter? Miscommunication for Farmington, and
look at that, 22 points.
Yeah, 22 points after it had been cut to 6 at the halfway point. So the Volcano Vista Hawks win that one 68-46 and remain atop that district. They are the favorites, and I don't believe that we have the video on the Rio Rancho game too, but Volcano won against Farmington. They won against Rio Rancho as well this week. They're going to be playing again, but they just still look like they're in the driver's seat, and there's really nobody who can contest that District 1.
Well, I made a point, and I don't have the stats on this, but if you look at district play, now, I made a statement during the Metro tournament that the teams are catching up because they were only losing by 6, 7, or 8, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, winning by, 6, 7, 8 in that tournament, okay? Since district play, I think it's over 30 that are beating their opponents. I mean, they're making statement after week, that night after night on how good they are.
Yeah, and you talked about it on your show earlier this week with Greg Brown. Volcano Vista, maybe it's just that veteran. I mean, they've won, 3 in a row now. They're peaking at the right time. They're starting their peak right now in district play, which will set them up, hit the district tournament and then hit the state tournament. Yeah, they look like people were getting close earlier on, but the peak is coming right now.
I think I saw them play 6 times, maybe even 7 times this year, and I still haven't seen them play 4 quarters.
Well, to be fair, in the Rio Rancho game, it's because they ended up pulling all the starters in the 4th, but...
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They played three great quarters, but I still haven't seen them play a fourth quarter, four quarters with all their starters.
All right, so it looks like it's time to take a look at the top 10 plays of the week. We'll have a couple more highlights, then we'll talk about some other scores from around the state in just a moment. You're watching the ProView Sports Report, Comcast 26. Right here for the Seawood Cougars as that one is denied.
Another chance for Adams, but he hits it.
Trying to thread the needle and he threw it away. That's unforced error. Here comes the game. And Ocellian makes up for the mistake.
Entirely new crew out here. Next time we get a whistle, Adams scores again. Adams gets the put back and he puts it right back again.
What a beautiful bounce to Benali, who Euro steps by a defender for the layup. Another dime for... Zillion finds Avino. Inside, another dunk. Two-hand slam. Bounce pass, stolen away, fast hands, Bramlett gives it to Butler. Dunked it! Still, one hand dunk for Peters. Lob upstairs to the elevator. An inbound play. Hopes catch. Oh, block. Butler. Huge. Diabage.
They've got a good shot up now. They got a good shot.
Harris, 12 seconds left. Poked away.
Oh,
Butler. Here comes the money. No. Yes.
would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics.
All right, welcome back here on the ProView Sports Report. Aaron Rivera with Steve Davis, and we were talking about that District 1 and how things are going to shape up. Let's take a look at a couple of games from that. In fact, they're both going to be Cibola versus Rio Rancho. First, let's have a look at the boys' game. So we had Ed Nunez and former Cibola head coach down there to take a look at that, Ray Rodriguez. And, you know, Kevin Archuleta with this Rio Rancho team, this is a team that likes to play full court, and Cibola was ready the whole way, Steve. The Cibola Cougars fighting through that press, setting up Isaiah Weinrich, who had a pretty good game in this one. There's a big dunk from him. We'll see a little bit more from him and Peters as we go.
Another block.
Yeah, Braden Peters, he was excellent. He was the player of the game in this one, but then so was Kevin Archuleta. Nice step-by three shot that set Rio Rancho up. We were playing nice and tight, and it seemed every time that Rio Rancho had a big play, Elijah Martinez right there, and he's, you know, of course, Coach Martinez's son, but Cibola, every time that Rio Rancho was getting points, was able to just kind of push them back to arm's length. Rio Rancho would have a big play like this one. It's going to be set up to Deshaun Bynum, and I think good news for Rio Rancho. They got another Bynum coming up.
Well, no, and he got to play against Volcano, and it's he's got some, you know, another weapon for Rio Rancho.
Yeah, I mean, that roster is very deep, but that's where we start to see Braden Peters really starting to appear. Here he is again on another two. I think we'll have a transition play coming up right here to Kevin Archuleta, who, again, Archuleta's been having a great game so far or a great season so far for the Rio Rancho Rams. He can hit from outside. He can do a lot of the defensive work, but on this day, Braden Peters just went off, Steve. He had a fantastic game. This is a nice little setup inside to Noah Lovato, but look how Cibola punishes the press. All Rio Rancho's up, so Braden Peters just takes advantage of it, knocks down that.
Well, if you look at how they, you know, watching this highlight, how do you beat the press? You pass it, and they got, you know, and pass it over the press.
So this is the final points of that game. It was Peters on that, and as the clock hit 0, the Cibola Cougars, the resurgent Cibola Cougars, you know, a couple of years when Coach Martinez took over that team, as we see the final 70-60. A couple of years ago when he took over that team, coming from Espanola Valley, a team that he had brought back into prominence. Obviously, a tough gig in Espanola because those fans love to see winning. He has done a really good job of building up that program every single year at Cibola.
If I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just speaking off the top of my head, is that they're in second place. If
Yeah.
And they control their destiny. I mean, the only team that they've lost to is Volcano. Farmington is, you know, they've lost 2 games now, and well, I take that back. Cleveland's probably right there in second place.
Yeah, as well. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know that Cleveland's lost a game yet, so they may be in sole possession by themselves.
Yeah, and so speaking of Cleveland, on the girls' side right now, Cleveland looking to be in the top position, but so is Volcano. Let's take a look at the girls' version of that game that we just looked at. The Rio Rancho Rams, the Cibola Cougars, and this is another Cibola team that's really started to fight their way back into this one. But Rio Rancho, they've had a couple of losses. They come into this one 0-2, and they needed a big game out of Madeline Martinez. They get it. She puts up 15 overall through this one. You see a couple of early drives by her. Put some points down for them. Actually, I think the first one was Larissa. There's a Gabrielle Moncada block. You saw that one in the top 10. But Cibola, 8 wins already this season, only 2 last year. Coach Toribio has done a good job to get them in position, but this was a night where you just see everything's working for the Rio Rancho Rams. That was Madeline Martinez to Larissa Martinez, first time out taken there by Coach Toribio. And, you know, for Rio Rancho, obviously it's great to see Lori Mabry back with the team. But
This is her former team, Cibola, so
Yeah.
it was a big win for her. I mean, an emotional win for her to come back to her home.
Well, and Coach Eric Jack as well, he was an assistant coach for the football team at Cibola for many years. So, lots of Cibola connections here. And Rio Rancho, they lost 2 games in district. They needed a bounce-back win, something where they show their dominance. And Madeline Martinez, I mean, they were everything that they were built to be, everything they thought that we all kind of thought they were going to be coming into district. As we see a nice setup from Moncada. But, their defense in this one, Steve, because obviously I did this one last night, their defense was just so hard for Cibola to get through. When you watch Cibola's shots, they just couldn't find easy shots, stuff that they could set up. And, of course, the McHugh sisters, size advantage on Cibola, were just dominant the whole way as well. So, in the end here, Rio Rancho Rams won that one 64-16. And this could be the bounce back, right? So, they've got one more game in district. And then you play it back around. You start district 0-2, but that doesn't mean you're out of it.
No, the season, and we, on Coach Brown, we was on my show, the Steve Davis show this week, that, we talked about teams get better because there's consistency in preparation during the week. You have a game on Tuesday, maybe Thursday or whatever it is, but your players get better over the next 3 weeks, and there's continuity with all the teams.
Yeah, and actual time to practice and rest, too. So let's take a look. Those are all the highlights we have. Let's take a look at our scoreboard for some of the other interesting scores around the state of New Mexico. First one to start with, the only undefeated team in girls basketball won last Thursday. Roy Mascaro, 17-0. I mean, just a powerhouse there in girls single A. Beat Des Moines 11-5. Albuquerque Academy girls and the Hope Christian girls, that score is deceptive, 55-49. As that one was back and forth through it. But the Academy girls, first year under a new coach, Skarsgård, they're in a good spot, 17-4 right now after that win. Then I mentioned Cleveland sitting atop in that girls' District 1, 55-31 over Farmington. That one's kind of a surprising one.
Coach Perkorski,
Yeah.
and I have ties with that. I got to play with her father at UNM, and I've watched her at El Dorado and also at La Cueva. She was assistant coach for many years.
Yeah, and so then after that one in the same district, Volcano Vista, who's also sitting atop in that district up until Wednesday last night. But so Volcano Vista beating the Rio Rancho Rams 58-55 right there. Kirtland Central, this was one that really piqued my interest. So in 4A, a lot of people that I'd heard from said that Gallup looked like this unbeatable team. They walked into that game Saturday 17-0. Well, Kirtland Central and Gallup were tight throughout that game, but then Kirtland Central in the second quarter just put the distance between them. They were able to weather a 12-4 run at the start of the fourth quarter that brought the game close and ended up closing out against Gallup 52-38. Those two teams will play in 2 weeks on that Saturday, and that's going to be another interesting one to see. It was at Kirtland Central. The Los Lunas Tigers losing to the Albuquerque High Bulldogs. Los Lunas was kind of the favorite in that district, but everybody's been talking about this Albuquerque High girls squad. They win that one 49-33. And then on Tuesday, Valencia Jaguars beating the St. Pius girls, so that district's up in the air. Tons of crazy scores went on in this one. And then this is the other one this is the one that put Cleveland into first in the district. The Farmington Scorpions, who, as we mentioned, lost earlier in the week to Cleveland, they beat Volcano Vista, and that puts Cleveland in sole possession of District 1, which has been dominated by Volcano Vista over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right, and I got to speak with Lisa Varell, and she says, that this game, she thought she might be able to get Farmington, but she says it's going to be a tough road, and she can't play consistently for 4 quarters is her thing. And they play great basketball during the game, and then they just, for some of them, have mental lapses, and so it's really, really exciting to see the girls basketball and see the teams. Albuquerque High, I see them do very well for the metro area.
Yeah, and for Farmington, that's a big bounce-back win, beating Volcano Vista last night in Farmington. You always want to win on the home court. Let's switch to the boys' side. So speaking of Farmington, Cleveland takes them down 57-56 to keep themselves up near the top in that district.
Well, that was on the road too. That's
Yep.
that's very great for Coach Cole and his team to beat Farmington, put Farmington in a hole because they ended up losing to Volcano Vista this week.
Yeah, we'll see that one. You see that one lower down on their academy, able to hold off Hope Christian. And Hope Christian had a short little slide this week because they also lost to the Valley Vikings. And now that's going to put Albuquerque Academy and Valley in the spot where they're battling out for the top of that district. That La Cueva Sandia double overtime, we saw that. That was Saturday, 80-74. And then how about this one? Cibola versus Rio Rancho. We saw the highlights on that. Put Cibola in position with the Cleveland Storm. And then the Hobbs Eagles, I mean, they're back. It looks like, Ralph Tasker smiling down on them from somewhere because Hobbs puts down Roswell 91-73 in that one. St. Michael's beating West Las Vegas, so they, obviously St. Michael's, Robertson, West Las Vegas, Santa Fe Indian School, that district is brutal. Every year they're putting out big teams, and St. Michael's comes out with an early chance to put themselves in position to win that one 88-51, with Robertson still surging.
Well, like I said, there's so much, except for Volcano Vista. I mean, all the other all the other districts are all so much parity, and on any given night, you can see upsets.
Yeah, so that is the scoreboards that we had for this last week.
And then there's one other game, Academy.
That Academy Hope.
Yeah, Academy beats Hope. And then Valley beats Hope, is that correct?
Yeah, Valley beat Hope as well.
So, I mean, that's an interesting.
Yeah, that district's now going to be going up. We see right there, Academy sitting 14-6. Didn't put the Valley game on there, but I mean, for Hope Christian, they played a really tough schedule early on, and maybe that's what's showing on it. And as they get into the district a little bit more, they can come through. But that's Academy on the road at Hope winning that one. Hope now dropping to 10-10 after the loss to Valley as well. That district looks like for Albuquerque Academy and Valley that's going to be the battle for it. Well, so I think we're going to take just one more break here, Steve. Then we'll talk about the new coaches polls that came out, as well as all the great games that we're going to be having this weekend.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. Our law firm was founded by my father, Thibaut J. Chavez, with one goal: to get New Mexicans the help they need. That's why we built a different kind of law firm. We focus on family values, dedicated service, and we make a real contribution by giving back to our communities. We can't change what happened to you or your loved ones, but we can help you get back on the road to recovery. We're by your side, and we're still as local as red and green.
All right, welcome back. It looks like we're actually cutting it pretty close right now, so we're just going to skip to the games you can see here on ProView Sports this week. We've got our schedule coming up. So Thursday night tonight, Santa Fe Demons taking on the La Cueva Bears. That one should be a good one. I think we're doing a couple more because I don't think I'm at La Cueva. But that one will be right here on Comcast 26. You can catch it there. On the girls' side, for Friday, Piedra Vista Panthers are going to be taking on the Rio Rancho Rams. So the Rams, like we just saw, kind of resurgent there. Piedra Vista is a team that's kind of struggled with consistency. That's what we see with the teams that are kind of in the middle of the pack in a lot of these districts. It's that consistency of playing 4 quarters. The Farmington Scorpions come to town to play against the Cibola Cougars. Chance for Cibola to maybe get a little bit of a bounce back. They've been starting to get some votes in the top 10, but after last night against the Rio Rancho Rams, things a little bit difficult there. On the boys' side on Friday, we'll see the Atrisco Heritage. That's actually Saturday, I think. Atrisco Heritage Jaguars versus the West Mesa Mustangs. Or is that the game that we're doing Saturday?
Academy.
Oh, we're doing Academy. That's right. So Atrisco Heritage West Mesa is on Friday. I'll be over there for that one. You can catch that on Game Vision. Valley Vikings taking on the Del Norte Knights as well. You know, Del Norte, kind of a team that Valley beat them already, I believe, and Del Norte lost to Academy, so they're going to be trying to fight through. Coach McIntosh, I'm sure, wants to get back into that district.
No, they do. I mean, that's a big game for both teams. I mean, Valley's right on the striking deal, and Del Norte needs to get back in. They've lost a couple of close ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then we have Saturday. Is that the Del Norte Academy that we have, or?
I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, now we're kind of lost it, but do we have the Saturday schedule as well, Ty? No? All right, so don't worry about it, but you can visit us at Game Vision and then also on our NFHS page. If you go to NFHS, look up Pro V Networks. We do have those up there, so any Rio Rancho games, Academy games, all of them will be there. Do we have time to look at the new coaches polls real quick? All right, let's start with the girls first, the boys first. So obviously Volcano Vista sit atop in that spot. We talked about the boys 4A last week a lot, Steve, with, Artesia sits up at the top. You thought that Academy wasn't getting the love that they should have gotten. They're up to 4 now, so, they've fought their way back in.
They have, and like I said, Espinola's got 2 great guards, and Pius, head-to-head, Academy has beat St. Pius, so I would have to put Academy above St. Pius right now.
Yeah, so that one's an interesting one. Now let's take a look over on the girls' side. And, of course, these came out at the beginning of the week. So that Saturday loss by Gallup puts Kirtland Central up top in the 4A. And the Hobbs Eagles, they're holding up their spot on the 5A side. And then you see, with Farmington playing in some of those tough games, they're probably, between them and Volcano Vista and Rio Rancho, that 6 to 8 spot in girls 5A is going to be interesting in the next week since they've all kind of beaten each other.
It's just pretty interesting to see these polls and how they're going to be changing over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and so that is all the time we have for you here on the ProView Sports Report. I want to thank our director, Ty Metzger, again for this one. Steve, thanks for coming on again. We're got lots of great games coming your way on ProView Sports. Find us at gamevision.io, nfhsnetwork.com, and right here on Comcast 26.